Episode 10 of the Grow and Tell podcast, presented by Respect My Region as part of the North American Weed Tour now. Gets bigger every year. We are here today with Brent Barnes of Claybourne Company. They are a cannabis company based out of California, Paris, California. Is that right?
Paris, California.
Paris,
Beautiful.
California. Very confusing. And Brent here is one of the founders. He's the VP of Genetics and Cultivation. And he has a lot to talk to us today about all things plant genetics, I assume, a little bit of cultivation techniques and many other things as well. Brent, thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Pleasure to be here.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear it. It's not always the easiest thing to step away from the garden in the middle of the day on a Tuesday or a Thursday. I always say Tuesday on a Thursday. So I appreciate you being here. Is there what background information can you tell us about Claybourne, or what kind of little elevator pitch would you like to get us started with?
The reality is Claybourne's just a normal old company. As much as Nick, my business partner, hates me saying it sometimes, it's like we're a bunch of blue collar kind of guys. We started Claybourne just as a passion for using the product. It was the freedom of use, and we wanted to kind of pitch that and put that into our motto and our branding, and bring good quality product and good quality business practices into an industry that really was hurting at the time. So Claybourne, we build everything ourselves, and it's really the truth of what we are. We have our hands in everything. It's like every build we have, I'm building it just as much as my employees are, much as my help, and all of the founders are the same way. It's like, we're not rich kids. It's like we started this business with pennies and we built it to turn it into an empire, and we want to build it bigger.
Yeah. That's awesome. What I read was that Nick had a baby, right? And then in the same time, he pitched you guys that you should start a company. So that's pretty wild. That's pretty manic, honestly.
Yeah, no joke. The name Claybourne comes from actually my brother-in-law. So my brother-in-law is Nick's best friend. And
cool.
Nick had this passion to name his child after the middle name of my brother-in-law. And it didn't work out. So what does Nick do? He names our business.
Hell yeah.
His next child.
Hey, there are dumber things to name your company after.
It was perfect.
Yeah, that's really good.
The serious side of it, it's like the hard K sound. It's like everybody liked it, and Claybourne was neutral. It's like it's a branding thing. So.
Oh yeah. No, it's good. You guys do a lot of interesting things with branding. I mean, one of the things that was not weird. I don't mean to say weird, but unique about your website was that you featured your crew members, and they're maybe. Like, you didn't list them as what their task was for Claybourne. You list them by their maybe main hobby or whatnot. Like, I saw one was a bull rider and one's an MMA fighter. Yeah, what's that about?
Those are our ambassadors. So it's like we stepped out. It's one of the things that we're really well known for. Our marketing division, and my business partner Jonathan actually came up with a lot of this message. And the reality is we wanted to bring cannabis to kind of a different realm. It's like, the reality is cannabis. It's like, there's nothing wrong with that, but we're trying to show people that it's normal.
Yeah.
And, you have MMA fighters and bull riders. It's like, I smoke weed when I mow the lawn. It's one of those things where it's like, everybody's a user nowadays. And it's like, we went after the sports scene and went a lot of the extreme sports scene. It's like BMX and motocross and Baja. It's like all that stuff. And it fits. My business partner, he worked for Harley and did photo work for all sorts of things. He's a graphic designer, and it all comes out. It came out of his head. It's like everything Claybourne literally is like him in a nutshell. So
that's very cool. I mean, you do have to find your niche, obviously. And so, and I mean, I wouldn't want it to seem like I'm overshadowing what you're producing, because obviously if you're producing a quality product that people with this level of what was the word I'm looking for? Acclaim, maybe, or fame. They're down to be an ambassador on behalf of you. That means you're growing good weed, right? Like,
it's what Nick's gonna hate me for this too if he ever hears this. But the reality is too, it's like I never came into this thing thinking I was the best grower in the world. It's the mentality. Our industry tends to have a really bad thing of saying, I know exactly what you want. It's like, you don't know what you want. I know what you want. And I come from a realm where it was like, hey, what do you want? What can I grow for you? What flavor profiles do you like?
Mhm.
Um, when we first started a lot of this, it's like truthfully, I hadn't really had grown any any large scale grows.
Mhm.
When we started this, I grew weed like it was a tomato. I grew it myself because I liked fresh product. I liked sowing seeds. So it's like I had it at
Mhm.
my house, it was one of
Yeah.
those things. But I'd worked in agriculture my entire life. And
Yeah.
the reality was is I knew what I liked to smoke. I knew what I liked to use. But it doesn't matter what I like.
Yeah.
Truthfully, it matters what the consumer wants. What do you want to smoke?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and we grabbed hold of that. And that's
Mhm.
what any good sales and marketing team should do. It's like, and they came to me and said, hey, we got a request for this and a request for this, and I would grow it.
Mhm.
If it was high enough quality for us to sell, then hey, we'll put it into a jar. Um, that mentality, though, it in our industry, it's kind of funny because people don't have it. People
Yeah.
don't. They don't really care sometimes what the consumer wants. But when you start doing it and you start thinking more about the consumer than yourself, you find that people will buy your product more. You'll move product faster. So,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you tailor a menu even to your buyer. Like
yep.
there's many, many layers to it. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I assume then, and this is a question I like to ask people who are cultivators, do you consider yourself a master grower?
Oh gosh. Um, no, but I think of master growers so differently, but that's just me. It's a
Yeah,
term of,
because it's an adapted term from agriculture,
yeah.
right? We both have agriculture backgrounds.
Mhm.
So when people
It-
call themselves master growers in cannabis, I always question whether or not they're talking
no,
about working in extension
yeah, the
or
Master
like,
Grower Association, where it's like
yeah,
I think of like older ladies that are
yes,
retired.
yes, who are at the farmer's market teaching you how to jar
Yeah,
your peppers at the end of the season.
exactly.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
Yeah.
I I call myself a plant geneticist. That's what I
Yeah.
was. I've been a plant breeder my entire life. I worked in research and development. Believe it or not, I
Mhm,
worked at the University of California in research and development. I was an R&D trial specialist
mhm.
where I worked with chemical companies, fertility companies for years. And the truth of the matter is that taught me how to be a grower. And it was by killing things that taught me how to be a grower. It's like, but
Yeah.
I was
Good
doing
growers kill
successful
more
trials.
plants, right?
Mhm.
Good growers kill more plants than they actually harvest,
You
I think is
try.
what they say. Yeah, yeah.
But, all in all, it's like growing weed was or growing cannabis to me, um, it was always a thing for me. It was always about natural, it's always about organic. It's a big
Mhm,
thing to me. It's like I like flavors in my quality of my product. I want the terpenes to be there. So when I would breed and make selections, it's like you're breeding and making selections for organics.
mhm,
Organics meaning terpenes and cannabinoids.
mhm.
And when I'm growing things, it's like it's the same indifference. I'm growing things with the idea of promoting secondary metabolites, the terpenes and cannabinoids. So
Mhm.
I'm growing with a lot of fertility like sulfur and a lot of fertilities like hydrolysates that are promoting those amino acids to be formed in the plant that give us those secondary metabolites.
So
Um,
you're not using synthetic nutrients then, you're using
no, we do,
organic-based
believe it or
nutrients?
not, no, we use synthetics.
Okay.
I think synthetics are probably the only way to grow cannabis indoors personally.
Wow,
Um,
hot take.
yeah, it's not the only way. I apologize. Let me rephrase
I
this.
was gonna say,
Let me
damn, dude.
rephrase this. Okay. Um,
Okay.
Synthetic nutrients, we have to remember what cannabis is. Cannabis is a sink crop.
Okay.
So when you're feeding something hydroponically,
Mhm,
there's a reason why OMRI or organic certifications aren't very
mhm,
easy in hydroponic crops.
mhm.
Because you can't keep enough nutrients in the water system to allow the plant to grow to its maximum capability. Um,
Mhm.
our industry in its early stages dumped on manure teas. They were like, oh,
Yeah,
organics, manure
yeah,
teas. And heavy metals skyrocketed in the product.
yeah,
And that was because we were using too much organics. You're an agriculturalist. Like when I talk about agriculture, it's like organic growing and organics are two different things. So
yeah.
it's like when you're debating on this, synthetic
Well, so
nutrients
my
are
question is,
clean. Hmm.
do you maybe have a bias towards synthetics because of the scale that you're cultivating at?
100%.
Because It's like, it depends on your scale. It's like you can grow really good weed with using organic based nutrients, not synthetic nutrients, as long as you aren't required to use a drip irrigation system.
We
Right?
use full drip. We use synthetics. It's like
Yeah.
I grow everything in peat. So I use peat-based
Yeah.
medias. I use a lot of beneficial bacteria, mycorrhizae in my mixes.
Mhm.
It's one of the things that's how I'm a grower. And those beneficial bacteria and mycorrhizae help break down those nutrients that are available for the plant.
Mhm.
It's one of the claims to fame. Claybourne, we are known for having very good quality flower. It's why we're one of the leading companies in California. And a lot of it just has to do with thinking about how a plant creates those secondary metabolites and feeding the system.
Mhm.
It's a lot easier to provide nutrients when they're readily available. It's
Yeah.
like when you're using organics and you're having to rely on the breakdown of different nitrogen forms to feed your plant,
Mhm.
it makes it a little bit more difficult when you're trying to rapidly grow something in 9 weeks. It's
Yeah.
like with 10 weeks.
Absolutely.
It's one of
Yeah.
those factors.
Especially in an inert media, which
Mhm.
maybe doesn't facilitate the best health of those microbes that you're relying on. So,
Yeah, I don't know how people do it in rock wool even. It's like
yeah,
rock wool, it's kind of one of those things, it's just a different beast.
yeah, definitely. Definitely. So, along those lines, though, I also recognize that y'all use LED light spectrums, correct?
100%.
So, are you concerned that the difference in an LED spectrum from the difference in the spectrum from the sun is responsible for any of the differences in your like flavonoid, terpenoid, and cannabinoid production?
It's very possible because different Kelvin temperatures do a lot of different things within the plant.
You're
Creating
the first person to ever say anything that sophisticated on this
Yeah,
podcast. I'm sorry.
I'm
I just
sorry.
got a little overwhelmed. Okay,
I'm sorry.
continue.
But the reality of it is the color temperatures, Kelvin temperatures. The Kelvin temperatures, they don't do as much as you think for the different types of phytochrome. The plant sees light as light. It's like different colors of light. The plant really utilizes it the same way. When you're talking about light, let's just invite them into the podcast. They're good.
I know.
When you're talking about light, though, it's like different colors of light penetrate leaves differently. So the reason why we switched over to LEDs, we actually use FOS LEDs, so high intensity LEDs, 1,000-watt LEDs. They produce more micromoles of light than if you were to walk outside with the same micromole light meter. The biggest difference, I think, between LEDs and sunlight is actually more ultraviolet spectrums, your UVAs, UVBs,
Yeah.
UVCs.
Yeah.
And that, it's like I've grown using UVA LED diodes and not seen any significant differences between cannabinoids and terpenes. I use quite a few, and I think it's more just because majority of what we call the sunscreen effect, the majority of what is adding those secondary metabolites is probably UVB.
Yeah.
It's the harmful UV rays.
Yes, it is.
And no
The
lighting
one that burns
company.
people's eyes and burns people's
Yep.
skin, and that's why it's not in our grow lights anymore.
Yep. And no lighting company is going to put a UVB diode in their light.
No.
Because of the liability.
Yeah, because of the liability. There are some now, like with programmable UVB comes on for like 10 minutes a day or something at the end of the day. Those ones are pretty cool. I mean, they're in research and development as far as I know at this point. But yeah, I think that they are going to find that UVB, like a little bit of UVB, is going to push a higher terpene and higher cannabinoid production. I speculate, I can't know.
No,
for sure.
It's 100% true in my opinion, because when you grow flower outdoors, outdoor flower always has higher terpene counts than indoor flower. And that's a lot of that. You would know this.
In the hotter sun.
Yeah.
Right. Despite like a pressure for more evaporation, basically, like the evaporation of the terpenes, despite that. Yeah.
Yep. And I think a lot of it has to do with that. We were talking about this earlier, soil microbiomes. So it has to do with the activity of what's in the soil, what's capable of that compared to an indoor facility. And then also how the UV rays affect that plant over a long period of time.
Yeah.
It makes total sense in just plant biochemistry that it would happen,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it'll be really cool to see. I mean, as this becomes a more sophisticated process, because I mean, this is still a very young industry. It's still like one of our biggest barriers is that people are putting a weed sticker on products that have been used in agriculture for forever and selling them to us for like 3 times more. But as that stabilizes, right, as like Dosatron, the Canna Dosatron or whatever, as those companies go out of business, and the real Dosatron makes money, yeah, I think we'll see some really rapid advancements in cannabis, especially. But I think we do have to trudge through some of this.
Yeah, truthfully, it needs research. It's like we can't rely on my alma mater, UCR, University of California, Riverside, for instance. It's like we communicated with them for quite some time with the dean and trying to indicate like, hey, let's work together and do research. You can do research on our facility.
Yeah.
They're afraid.
Under our license, so you don't have to compromise. Yeah.
Exactly. But people are afraid. They're afraid of losing their hard money at the university, so they don't want to work with it.
Yeah. I mean, I lost my retirement because they found out my money comes from cannabis, and it's like my retirement was federally insured. So bye.
So stupid.
Stupid. So we're still there, still at that point right now, even though I don't own a license of any kind. So I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
But back to the original thing for you is we grow organically. We grow organically in everything other than nutrients, just so you know.
Yeah. Oh no, yes, I understand. It's the nuances of the irrigation system that typically like restrict people, and the media type. I am interested to ask you a little bit more though about breeding specifically, because I guess when the company started, what you're saying is that you were looking for genetics that were most marketable, I guess, or like what your consumers were looking for. During that time, were you doing breeding, or is breeding a newer thing for you? Or when you say breeding, do you mean just like popping other people's seeds?
No, not at all. I've been breeding plants my entire career. So it's like when I first started working in agriculture, I moved in the direction of breeding plants. I bred ornamental plants for the University of California. I bred turf grass for the University of California. I actually I worked for the germplasm for citrus and dates with the USDA for some time. And then I moved into private industry where I was breeding plants for an ornamental company called Proven Winners. And in that time, I became a plant breeder. I was a plant breeder. I was the director of plant breeding for a very big international company. And the reality is that when we started Claybourne, it's like you can't take away breeding from a geneticist. It's impossible. And I was doing it at a very small scale. And you have to start from somewhere. So of course we bought seed and germinated seed from other breeders. And then I would select hybrids or select plants, select males. Sometimes I would reverse females and make my own hybrids. We were doing it on a very small scale though, because we were a startup. We had to make money. So I had to grow product. I couldn't just like screw around all day and breed plants and select things. But the reality is that over time, it takes a little bit of time to build a portfolio. But what you see now in our product range is gold cuts. Every single one of those gold cuts is bred and selected by me. So our premium product is selected for flavor profiles, for smokability, for quality of product. And that all comes from us. And we're selecting in our growing conditions, obviously. So we're selecting under high intensity LEDs and growing things in peat-based soils or organic soils. And it works. And we selected a whole portfolio of flavors that meet the quality standards of our industry. And now that we're up and running and we have more square footage to grow, of course, I'm breeding more and more and more. And it's all dependent on kind of what's going on. Whether I select a male or whether I reverse a female or reverse a female into a male, it is what it is. It's whatever you need it to be.
So then are you keeping abreast with things like, the cakes and the cookies and the candy gas and all of those trends? Or would you say you try and avoid those trends?
I'm not trying to create a better cake. I'm not trying to create a better cookie. We have breeders like Sea Junkie who destroyed cakes. It's like he made the best cakes you could have. And why would you compete with that?
Right.
There's no need to compete with Triangle Kush anymore because it's already on the market. I'm a big fan of old school flavors.
Me too.
I really I hate it. I hate it that everything is a gelato hybrid now. I hate it that
Yeah.
everything is a cake hybrid.
Mhm.
I'm really trying to bring back old school flavors into things. So whenever you're seeing a lot of my crosses, which we announce them, we share them with everybody. It's like a lot
Mhm.
of the stuff is, hey, I'm crossing Durban with a lot of things right now because I'm trying to bring back some of these old school flavors.
The
Um,
earthier, the
it's
mustier,
it's
yeah. Yeah.
it's dirty sock. It's
Yeah.
like seriously, it's dirty
Yeah.
sock smell. It's gas. It's
I
like
just started a velvet underground. It's like a velvet or underground orange cake, some weather, but it smells like trash. It smells like the drippings from the elementary school cafeteria. You know, like it smells disgusting. So I'm very excited about it.
everything I'm trying to do,
Mhm.
I'm not kidding with you. It's like I always try to select things for flavor profiles that are just
Mhm.
unknown,
Yeah,
as you should.
underrepresented. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like we tried to bring back a lot of old school flavors a long time ago. I have a lot of
Mhm.
White Widow and Blue Dream
Mhm.
and Green Crack. I have it all over the place, and I
Yeah.
self it down because when I select it, I want to save it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I use
That's
that for
cool.
breeding. So
Yeah.
all of that stuff goes into our breeding program because we're trying to recreate, kind of improve. We need to
Mhm.
bring those old genetics up to industry standards, what we call now.
Yeah.
And in the
'Cause
meantime, we
their
find a lot of fun
yield and
stuff.
their plant structure and a lot of their other things were lacking back then.
Yeah.
We weren't working in the same
Not at all.
environment.
And
No.
another thing too is breeders in our industry haven't really focused a lot on agronomics. They haven't focused on how easy is something to grow.
Mhm,
We've been
mhm,
so focused on growing things hydroponically in these perfect climates that
mhm.
I think we forgot to really select things for disease tolerance and
Yep,
insect
yeah,
tolerances, how things promote in root growth, for instance. It's like how well does the cutting take?
mhm,
Some of these things, especially in these challenging times of our industry,
mhm.
if it's easier to grow, gives you a better yield,
Yeah,
it's like a lot of the times that means a lot to a company. So,
absolutely. Yeah, or a shorter flowering time or,
mhm.
yeah, just more adaptability in general. Yeah, I definitely agree. Obviously, I'm interested to see where the next trend goes. I speculate we're going into bananas a lot. There seems to be like a lot of banana crosses coming out right now. So like,
I haven't I haven't seen it in California yet, but I'm
well,
a big
okay. I
banana fan.
also
I love
think that
keeping that on
Washington
the
should stop just following California. It annoys me that we get all your guys' genetics like 6 months later, and it's like, why do we have to rely on California genetics? Like, even like a lot of our cuts actually come out of Archive in Portland because it's very, very close to the border.
great breeder too. So
Yeah. So, anyway, well, I think I'm excited at least for some banana stuff. I also manage a dispensary, and so my biggest issue is when everybody's menu has the same genetics on it. So I could have four different brands
100%.
offering me the same genetics. To the consumer, to my customer, that limits them from having four different options to having four iterations of the same option, right? So I do have to keep a little bit
No.
of an interest in the new stuff, although I always pick up a Durban or an Acapulco. I got some like weird hash plants right now, crosses that are pretty cool, and Bubba Kush. Fuck it, I fuck with Bubba Kush.
I lost Bubba Kush last year. It pissed me off so much.
Oh
That was
no,
funny.
no, 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 that's a good one.
It's funny that you say hash plants because I just released 3 gold cuts in our last release that were all 88 hash plant
Yeah,
hybrids.
nice.
Um, I took Jack Hare and I crossed it with G13 88 hash plant,
Yeah,
and I took that and crossed it with a whole bunch of other kind of sativa leaning varieties,
yeah,
and I just released a bunch of sativas into our premium line because of that.
cool,
It's good stuff.
very cool. Yeah. Oh, I love Jax and yeah, XG13 is so oh, it's like I always equate them to like, do you remember that Drake commercial where he opens the 7 Up or is it a Sprite? It was one of those, and it like sprays in his face, and I'm like, yeah, that's like XJ13, like exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's good. You would love it because I got an Afghani Kush hybrid that we just selected that's like as dirty sock could be.
Yeah. Yes, good. I love that. Oh, that's excellent. What else is on the horizon? What else is Claybourne getting into, or what else are you personally getting into? You have any talks or anything like that coming up?
Nothing right now. It's
Okay.
like a lot of the stuff that we're doing right now. We just opened up our new facility. We're posting a lot of pictures on our new facility and stuff like that. And it's a 3-story LED grow.
Wow.
And getting that thing
Cool.
up and running and getting it going, for me, it's a must because it gives me more breeding space. So it's like I
Yeah.
want to get it up and going. I'm the cultivator. So
Yeah.
Claybourne is releasing a lot of new products into this kind of Q4 of this year.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of pre-roll based products are coming out for us.
Mm-hmm.
The industry is looking for ease of use, and we're trying to give people high quality flower pre-rolls with ease of use. It's like that still have a great flavor.
Yeah.
Full
So
flower pre-rolls are lacking.
are you using a machine trimmed, are you machine grinding like your pre-rolls, or are they hand packed, or are they machine
We
packed?
machine grind them, and then we have to take them and find them right size. It's like
Oh yeah.
packing pre-rolls is there's a science
There
to
is.
getting a clean burn in a pre-roll.
Yeah, there's a couple companies in Washington now who are hand packing cones. So they're
Mm-hmm.
not using the, like, a lot of us use coffee grinders or some other kind of
Yep.
grinding machine to grind up the flour and then shake it into those little cones. And the result is always like a shorter, more tightly packed pre-roll. That's just like what it is. It's like what you
Yeah.
can easily make in a commercial setting. But yeah, now there are a couple companies in Washington who are, I guess they've trained people to be fast enough to hand pack pre-rolls, cones still, but
Yeah.
that's pretty impressive. I cannot.
Pre-rolls.
Yeah, they're hand packing them.
Yeah, without giving away too much IP, it's like
Yeah.
you have to spend time in R&D of pre-rolls. It's
Yeah.
like, because I'm not gonna lie, the worst thing is when you light up a freaking pre-roll and it runs on you or it freaking goes out. It's like
Or there's a seed
anything.
in it. I've had a couple of seeds in them.
Yeah, straight stems and just like
Yeah.
trim. You're just
Yeah.
like, thanks for this high quality pre-roll.
Yeah. Like, I paid money for this. Like, you don't just get to shove your bad stuff into a pre-roll.
No.
Like, that's what extraction is for. Extraction is for the stuff that you're trying to shove in my pre-roll.
We have full flower pre-rolls. It's like I would not sell anything that I would not consume myself.
Yeah. Hey, I see that too.
Yeah. It's the reality. It's like if I'm not going to put it into my body, I'm not going to put it into yours. So.
No, and that's why you get repeat customers, because if they actually can trust your word and they can actually trust your product, keep coming back to you. And that's one thing that y'all's website was really consistency, right? Like, you really talked about consistency, and everybody can say consistency, but it's success of a company that shows that you actually have consistency, right?
Consistency and transparency. It's one of those things we live by. It's we're true to what we're putting out there. It's like we are what we're putting out there, and we're proud of it. And any feedback we get, it's like our whole QR program on the back of our products. It's like all of that stuff about giving feedback, getting real feedback back into our hands. It helps us make a better product for the consumer, for the end user. And all of that is so important to us. It's one of the biggest things that we do nowadays is really, we care about the consumer. We have to.
Yeah. So. No, that's excellent. I will have to come down to California and try some of your products, because I haven't.
You guys got to. Seriously, I keep telling Mitch, I tell everybody's got to come down. It's like, we'll just hang out for a few days.
Old man Mitch, I can't travel with old man Mitch. I know. He's a dad, man. It's different vibes. It's okay. He's traveling right now. Yeah. They're on the East Coast. They're living it up, and I'm just still here.
Nice.
Actually, I'm about to leave for 20 days. I can't complain. But yeah. Yes. They go hard. Events with them are hard. That's all I'll say. Yeah.
All the time.
But I'll come down and I'll find some flower.
You're always welcome.
That's like,
I'll show you the best flower. And
Thank you. Well, we're a little bit over time. We talked for exactly like 30 minutes. So unless there's anything else you want to impart upon our listeners or our future listeners.
Truthfully, it's, if you're ever in California, hit us up, try us out. It's like, we're in almost all the dispensaries, all the retailers. It's like, I would love to hear feedback. I love to talk genetics. It's like, I'm around all the time.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, no, I know. I wish we could have gone a little bit more in depth on genetics because it's very exciting to me. But I think
we can make this the first hour-long one if you want.
First hour, yeah, we just keep going. No, I don't. Well, Brent, thank you very, very much. Thank you to everybody who stuck around and listened to us chat today. Thank you to Respect My Region for producing this Grow and Tell podcast, which I enjoy doing so much. Please like, subscribe, follow, interact if you can. It definitely helps both me and Respect My Region just in general. And yeah, Brent as well. So, and Claybourne in general, all those things. And I will be not physically in Washington for our episode next week, but I will still be back next week at 2:00 on Thursdays. And I will probably look grubby and dirty because I'm on a mountain biking trip, but we will still talk about plants. So thank you very much, Brent. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody else. And we will talk again soon.